Can I tell you what's been on my mind? Sick and tired of the 9 to 5 in the city life. Hey, darling, we could get out of town, see the beautiful world around, wanna see it now. Pack our bags and get in that car, leave a little note and we'll drive real far. Let's get out, we can leave this city.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Farm and Pastor's Wife. I'm so glad you're here. My name's Leslie, and you are in my kitchen down on the farm. Today, we have some fun things happening. I'm going to make a dessert. I make a lot of desserts, but I don't eat a lot of desserts. Now, I'll taste them and enjoy them, but I'm not really a big dessert person, even though I make quite a bit of desserts. My weakness right now, I do like candy bars, but I can't just sit and eat. I can't hardly eat a whole one. I can eat a half of a candy bar, but to say I eat cakes and pies, I just don't. My weakness right now is chocolate ice cream. Now, I am on a chocolate ice cream and could probably eat 2 cones at a time. So, I'm going to show you guys a dessert that I love, or I used to love. I haven't had it in quite a while. And I really, 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 really like it. And that is a blackberry pie. So I'm just measuring out, anywhere between 3 to 4 cups of blackberries. Anywhere in that vicinity. I'm probably just going to hang right there. It's almost 4 cups. And then I'll put this in the refrigerator and we'll do something with it at some point. I have another whole bag in my freezer that kind of melted a little bit before I was able to use it, and so it would be great to make jams and jellies with, or even to make juice out of. So I've measured out, this is probably right at 4 cups, 3 3/4 to 4 cups. I do make room for the spaces in between the berries, so and I probably will have berry juice all over my pretty blue outfit. That's okay. I have aprons. I just don't wear aprons a lot. I just don't. So what I'm doing now is, those of you, I think I've made pie crust on the channel before, and I can definitely make pie crust, but I think they have come such a long way with store-bought crust that the difference to me is not worth the making it. Yes, homemade pie crust may be a little bit flakier and so forth, but I just think these are just as good. So what I'm going to do is I take these out of the package and I'm going to just let them sit out and thaw down just a little bit, just to where they're pliable. I don't want them super soft to where they become a ball or they stick to each other, but just where they're movable without breaking. So I'm gonna let those sit out for a little bit. And while we're waiting on those to thaw, let me bring you in a little closer and let me tell you a story. If you're not here for the story, that's fine. It's kind of going down memory lane, talking about blackberry pie. And so you can just fast forward if you need to get to the recipe. Oh, did you see that bird? You can fast forward to get, squirrel, to get to the recipe. And if not, if you're here for the walk down memory lane, then let's start taking our walk down memory lane. I have lived on this farm. This is where I grew up, and there are tons of wild blackberries all throughout here. Now these are store-bought, and these are not wild strawberries. In my opinion, wild strawberries are better. They may be tartar and have a little bit more of a tartness, but they have a much better blackberry flavor. And I think wild blackberries are absolutely the best. However, there's two things that come with picking wild blackberries there's three things that come with picking blackberries that are not so fun. Now, I remember picking blackberries with my mama, and I had such a good time. We had, my daddy was a hog farmer, and he had some electric fences around, and we would have to cross over the electric fences to go pick blackberries. And one day, Daddy had they had me a little cute little bucket. It was a little tin miniature bucket, like your regular pails, your bucket pails. It was just like that, except it was miniature scale. And my daddy had a little plastic bucket. Well, my daddy was he was disabled in his hips. He had had some hip surgeries as a child, and was just unable to walk very well. He could walk, but not walk well. He always used a cane. He could not reach his feet and so forth. So what he would do is when we would cross over one of the electric fences, he would take his plastic pail and push it down and step over. Well, I didn't know you could do that. And I said, wow, Daddy, I didn't know you could do that. I thought you had to unhook it. And so I said, I'm going to try it. And my daddy said, okay. And so my bucket was not plastic. It was metal. And he knew that. And he thought that was the funniest thing when I got a little tingle in my hands. And I mean, of course, he knew it wouldn't hurt me. But it was a good lesson as a child. And so as an adult, I steer clear of electric fences. And anyway, I don't even think I've ever tried it with a plastic bucket. You know, I've never even tried it with a plastic bucket because I just don't want to tempt. But one of the other things, the three things I'm talking about that comes with picking wild blackberries, which in my opinion, they are absolutely the best. And some of my fondest memories are me and my mama out picking wild blackberries. I remember that as a child. I remember doing persimmons, going out with my mama and picking up persimmons and picking wild blackberries. And okay, so one of the things is snakes like to hide in the blackberry bushes. So one thing to do is always take a stick and, you know, be sure there's no snakes out there. If you have wild blackberries, or if you know somebody that does and you've never picked them, be sure to take you a stick just to check for any snakes and be sure there's no snakes under there. The second thing that comes with wild blackberries is the bushes have thorns. Your tame, what we call tame blackberries, they usually don't have thorns. Some of them may, but usually they don't have thorns. But your wild blackberries, they do have thorns. And so you've got to be super careful when picking blackberries. So, do you know what the third thing is that comes with blackberries? and it's in these parts. I don't know if this happens with the wild blackberries in the north. I don't know. I'm just saying what happens here with the wild blackberries is there comes a thing called chiggers. And chiggers are little bugs that bite your skin and they get in there and they itch like crazy. They itch like crazy. And for some reason, I don't know how my mama didn't get them, or if she got them, she didn't get them as bad as I did. Maybe it was because I had a little tender skin. I don't know. And she had more mature skin. But let me tell you, it was awful. And they always like to get where you can't hardly see them. And until they bite you, and then you have all these little red whelps everywhere. And they like to get where things were tight. Like if you had a long shirt on, they would get where your wrist was tight, or where your band around your waist was. They would get there, or where your socks were. They like to get where something was tied up against you, and that's where they kind of got. And it was awful, awful. So those are the three things I don't miss about picking blackberries, but I do miss picking wild blackberries. And we still have a ton. I usually don't get to them But if you have them, go pick them. They're fun. And they're delicious. Like I said, they're a little bit more tart, but the flavor, the blackberry flavor is so much stronger in a wild blackberry. I don't think they get quite as big as they used to, and I'm not quite sure why that is. But anyway, so I'm going to let these thaw just for a little bit, about 15-20 minutes should be good. And I'll meet you back here and we'll put this quick together. Listen, I love a blackberry pie, and I like a blackberry pie better than a cobbler. I'm just a blackberry pie fan. And so this is one dessert I'll probably have more than one helping on. I can guarantee you. So I'm going to hang out. It'll be just a quick second for you, but it'll be about 15 minutes for me. So let's go ahead and work on our filling while we're waiting for those pie crusts to thaw a little bit, and we'll just get that to sitting around, and that'll be good and delicious. So let me get you turned down here. I'm going to measure out. Give me just a second to get you situated. I'm going to measure out a good 1.5 cups of sugar. And this is a generous, I didn't level the scoop off. That's a generous 1.5 cups. And so we're going to add to that 2 very generous tablespoons. And when I say very generous, I mean very generous tablespoons of flour. I'm going to heap them up and not level them off at all. So this is probably more like 3 tablespoons. There we go. And I'm going to leave the flour out because we can sprinkle the pie crust with flour because we'll roll it just a little bit, okay? So what I want to do to this is just whisk that together, mixing the sugar and the flour all together. And be sure and get it mixed well. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my blackberries, and they're frozen, but since they're going to sit out and wait a little bit, they'll thaw down some, and that's fine. Either way, you can do them frozen, it's fine. All right, so we've got those in there. Let's go ahead and pour our sugar and flour mixture over those blackberries. Y'all knew what I meant. And I'm going to take this and I want to coat them well with that flour and sugar mixture. And this actually works much better while they're frozen. So this is a great thing to do. And once I fill my pie up, if I feel like it needs a few more blackberries, I'll hand toss some more blackberries in there. But I always use 3 to 4 cups, and this was right at the 4 cup, but I didn't jostle them down to fill in any spaces. So, all right, we're gonna let this sit for a while. And we'll set that over there. I'm gonna go ahead and sprinkle out just real lightly a little bit of flour. And so now we'll just wait. Let's see. Yeah, they're still pretty frozen. So we're going to wait. I'll add a drop of vanilla into the blackberries right before we pour them in the pie. That way they can kind of start melting down a little bit now. And we're going to top it with some butter. I'm going to brush the top. Usually I'll just cut super thin little pats of butter and place it on the top. But I think I'm going to melt some today to brush the top of the pie crust with, and we'll also sprinkle it with a little bit of sugar. So I'm going to cut off a little bit of this to melt in the microwave, and the rest we'll cut little pats and put in the pie. So, all right, let's just hurry up and wait. All right, I'm just checking to see if it's pliable enough. And I'm doing it very slowly. It's still kind of frozen in the center. Almost. So I'm going to let that sit there while we wait for this little part right here to thaw. This will definitely be the bottom. See, it's tearing a little bit right here because it's so cold. So you don't want to force it. So just let it hang out, be patient, and wait a little bit longer. So it only took like another couple of seconds. So I'm just going to sprinkle. And even if it did tear, you can fix it. You can moisten the dough and press it back together a little bit. So don't fret. Don't fret. That's why these doughs are so great. You can kind of fix them. Even if you had to wad them all up and chill it and start again. So I'm just going to take a rolling pin and enlarge it just a little bit. I want it just a little bit larger than my pie pan. And definitely it's okay if this flour stays inside because that's just going to help thicken up those juices. So don't worry about that at all. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to lift it up and kind of fold it in half. I'm going to bring my pie plate right up here. I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to kind of eyeball the center there. And then we just unfold. And before I start doing anything to the edges, I want to be sure I've got it down on the sides. And you may have to, so to keep from tearing, you may have to kind of lift it up and press down. So I'm talking to those of you who have never made a pie and may need some instructions. A lot of you can do this with your eyes closed, and that's fine. Not everybody has done this. And so I'm kind of just talking to those who have never done this. And I'm actually going to leave the excess pie dough right now. I'm going to kind of press that out on this side just a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to set this over here, and I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit more flour out here for the other pie dough. And I'm going to go ahead and see if it'll roll out. It's been sitting a little bit longer than the other one. Not a whole lot longer. Just a little bit. And you just want to start it real easy. There might be a spot like this that's stuck, and you just kind of just keep working it till it breaks free. There, see? And I'm just going to slowly, real slowly now, because there might be a frozen spot in the center. Or if you let it get too warm, it might be stuck. And here again, we're going to be just a little bit frozen here on the end. But I think I can just go ahead and slowly with my thumb work it on out without tearing. Perfect. See how easy this is? And they have really, like, they didn't used to be good. I'll give the people that say, you know, they would never use a store-bought crust. They didn't used to be good, but they have perfected this in a way that, you know, I think it's really good. So I just sprinkled the top with some flour, and again, I'm just going to roll it out bigger than my pie. And you don't want it to go in just one direction. You want to be sure you're making this even as possible. Okay, So now let's draw our attention. Let me move some of this stuff. We're going to draw our attention over here. And I have my coated berries right here. They're starting to thaw out a little bit, but I'm going to use a slotted spoon and kind of shake out the sugar a little bit. We're still going to use all that sugar. Don't think we're not. But I kind of want it to go in from the top. If there's some at the bottom, that's totally fine. And you could skip this spoon in it and just dump it in. That's fine too. But like I said, I kind of like to sprinkle the excess sugar on the top so that it kind of melts its way down the berries, if that makes any sense at all. And if I feel like I need to add some more berries, I can see and still have sugar in here to coat them in. And believe it or not, I think I may use the rest of that little bag of berries. Let me grab that. All right, I've added those extra berries in here and I'm tossing them really good. Now, if you don't have extra berries, the amount I had is just fine. And if you use extra berries, you might want to sprinkle in a little more sugar. All right. So now I can take this leftover sugar and that way it kind of melts in from the top. And this is sugar and flour. Now, what I want to do is, you could have done this in there, but I wanted to leave that sugar dry. I'm just going to just drop a little bit of vanilla in like that. All right. And now what I want to do is I want to cut some little pats of butter. Just with a knife real quick and dot it around. Just really thin pats of butter to kind of melt down in that butter. Give it some juices. Now, let me tell you, you do want to bake this on a cookie sheet because it's going to overflow, it's going to ooze, it's going to make a mess in your oven if you don't cook it on a baking sheet, or put some tin foil or something under it to catch any drippings, or one of those baking tin pans. Those are wonderful. Let's set that on over there, and I'll do a little portion of one right here. Okay, that looks lovely. All right, so now let me wipe my fingers off. All right, so here again, I'm going to fold this in half. I'm going to set this right up here. I'm going to kind of set the pie crust in the center and then just close it. All right, so now here is where we're going to, I'm going to kind of fold over both layers. I'm taking both layers and folding it over. I kind of grab the bottom one with the top and I'm pressing it out just a little bit. And we're just going to do this all the way around. So we're going to spin this pie a couple of times. And it may be really thick on one side, like right here it's super thick, and that's okay. That's okay. I like a crusty crust, and so when you keep it thick like this, it kind of gives it that, like when you have a big juicy spot, but you need a little crust in there, then you got a nice crust on your piece of pie that you can pull some of that crust in and soak up that juice with. I got a little thin spot there. I hit a blackberry on that side. Now I used to hold the pie up and cut the excess off, but I've actually enjoyed keeping it and doing this. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take 2 fingers like this and 1 finger and do this all the way across. And I got nails, so it's gonna have nail prints. Let's see if I can do it without putting my fingernail in it. Oops, dug a hole there. And it doesn't have to be beautiful. Another way you can do it is take a fork and go all the way around. Let me do a knuckle, see if that helps. The fingernail impression. So there you go. Very pretty, nice little edges. There we go. All right, so now what you want to do is you want it to have some vent holes. So I do kind of a little vent hole this way, a little vent hole this way, little vent hole this way, and a little vent hole this way, and I'm cutting on a piece of butter. And then you can do a few more around the edges if you want. And now I'm going to take this butter. Used to I would just cut little thin pats like I put on the inside and put on the top, but I think I'm going to brush it this time. You could do an egg wash. That would be beautiful. Give it a beautiful sheen and shine. But I've always put butter on my pies, so. And I do use salted butter. If I was not using salted butter, you know, I put those pats of butter, I would have put a sprinkle of salt in my sugar and flour mixture. And you can still do that even if you use salted butter. I just don't, however. All right, so I've got the top all nice and shiny and coated with butter. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a little bit of sugar. Let me go ahead and get it on the cookie sheet. I did put some parchment down just to keep it nice and fairly easy to clean up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this sugar and just sprinkle on the top. This just gives it a pretty look. All right, so there we go. All right, going in the oven at 350 degrees, and I'll let you know exactly how long it takes when it comes out. All right, everybody, here it is out of the oven. It's cooled a little bit, so Bryant and I are fixing to give it a try. I'm so excited. This is absolutely one of my favorite desserts. All right, so let's give it a cut and see what we can do here. It's gonna be runny. It's not gonna be a setup type pie, especially right now because it's still warm. And we did put extra berries in here, so it's gonna be nice and juicy. Now once it cools, that juice will set up some. But this is meant to be a super juicy pie. So let's just see what it tastes like. Bryant hadn't got over here yet, so I'm going ahead and we're giving it a taste. That brings back such childhood memories. A good old scoop of vanilla ice cream would be delicious, but I don't need it because this is perfect to me. This is my favorite. As far as fruit pies go, Blackberry is my favorite.
Hey
Here it
guys,
comes.
Do you know why she doesn't need the ice cream with this pie?
Why don't I need the ice cream?
Because she's been on a kick of eating chocolate ice cream every night. Hadn't you? Oh.
You can already tell it's good, can't you?
I just got a bite of the syrup. That syrup on some ice cream would be killer.
Oh, yes.
Come there right there.
Don't spill it.
See that bite?
That's good stuff. We'll drink that saucer.
That is killer right there.
Isn't that good?
Yes.
Now, I could have put extra flour in. Since I did add more berries, I probably should have put another tablespoon of flour.
Thicken it up a little bit.
This is delicious. I don't mind this at all. And once it cools, it will set up a little bit.
Gotta
So
make
good.
it. Gotta make
So good. Just a simple blackberry pie. And no matter what kind of berries you want to make a pie with, you would do it the same way. You could do a fruit medley. Buy it in the freezer section, the strawberry, blueberry, blackberries. So good.
Only thing I need is some milk.
Yep. It's my favorite. It is absolutely my favorite. And I don't make it often because I do like it so much. So it is so good. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. I appreciate you. Listen, you don't want to miss tomorrow's because I'm going to finish out the fried cabbage video. So you don't want to miss that. So, all right, we'll see you next time. Remember, the grease is hot enough, you can fry anything. Bye, y'all.